I like to imagine that she's in a beautiful land, somewhere far away, safe from the danger of the Black Hand. At last, that she finds peace, that she finally finds happiness, that she finds a small town to call home. But imagination is just a ghost. It keeps you going, but it doesn't hold you back. I couldn't just close my eyes and hope you were out there. I had to know. Everyone told me to let it be.
Stranger Things is over. The credits rolled. The door closed. The party walked up the basement stairs. But that empty feeling you've got right now, that wait, that's it? Itch? Netflix is banking on that. Because as of January 2026, the Stranger Things universe is not shrinking. It's expanding. So in this video, I'm giving you the full roadmap of what comes next, what's officially confirmed, what's strongly reported and likely, and what fans keep asking for, but probably isn't happening. No fluff. No pretending rumors are real. I'll label everything so you know exactly what to believe. Let's start with the most important point. The Duffer Brothers are not building a Marvel-style universe where you need 12 shows to understand one scene. They keep describing the future as standalone stories with connective tissue. Same vibe, same storytelling sensibility. But different corners of the world, different characters, different rules. Therefore, if you want your Stranger Things fix after the ending, you need to know one thing. Which projects are actually real? Category 1. Confirmed. Official. Announced. First up, Stranger Things, Tales from '85. This is the big one for people who just want the original feeling back. It's an animated series coming in 2026, set in the winter of 1985, between Season 2 and Season 3. And yes, it follows the original Hawkins kids again. 11, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and the whole crew. But here's the detail people keep missing. This isn't a cartoon recap. It's being pitched like a Saturday morning cartoon-style adventure. And animation matters because it removes the limits. Live action always has constraints. Budget, time, what you can actually show on screen. But animation can go bigger, weirder, more creature-heavy, more paranormal mystery every episode without needing a blockbuster budget. Now, one thing to set expectations. Even though the characters are the same, it's expected to be a new voice cast. Not the live action actors. That doesn't kill it. But it does mean you should treat it like its own flavor of Stranger Things, not just Season 2.5. Here's why Tales from '85 is secretly a lore goldmine. The early descriptions tease that it's basically Hawkins Lab science meets upside-down matter. That one idea opens a door. Because the main show didn't have time to explore every experiment, every leftover entity, every strange side effect, every loose thread from the lab's work. So Tales from '85 can do what the live action couldn't. It can show you new experiments, new creatures, new rules, and if it's set between Seasons 2 and 3, it can also explain why certain things in Hawkins feel like they changed without anyone acknowledging it. Second confirmed project, Stranger Things, The First Shadow. This one is already real, already live on stage, and it might be the most important piece of canon in the entire franchise right now. It's a prequel set in 1959 Hawkins, young Jim Hopper, young Joyce Maldonado, and the origin story of Henry Creel. And I need you to hear this clearly. This play is not a fun side story. It's considered canon, and it's been described as critical to understanding the deeper lore of the series, especially Henry's transformation and how his connection to the bigger entity works. In fact, the Duffers have said they cut a scene from Season 5 because it referenced details that would confuse people who hadn't seen the play. That is insane. That means the play contains information the show wanted to use, but had to hold back. So if you're the kind of viewer who lives for rules and blueprints, The First Shadow is basically the official lore vault, because most fans will never see the play. They'll want the clean guide, the timeline, the key reveals, the here's what it means for the finale breakdown. Now, the third confirmed piece is the one that makes everyone nervous. The untitled live-action spin-off. This is not Season 6. This is not the Hawkins gang grown up. This is not Steve and Dustin do Monster of the Week. The Duffers have basically set one hard rule: clean slate, new characters, new location, new story, new creative team driving it forward. They've even said it won't be about obvious returning characters like Eleven, Steve, Dustin, or even someone like Holly Wheeler. So if you're waiting for the next show to keep the same cast alive, you're going to be waiting a long time. But that doesn't mean you should ignore this spin-off, because the Duffers have also teased something very specific. A small Vecna-related detail from the finale is being positioned as important connective tissue for what comes next. They've hinted that this spin-off will explore that thread. Therefore, even though the cast changes, the mythology can still deepen. And that's the best case scenario for fans like us. A show that feels fresh, but still answers questions the original show left sitting there. Okay, that's the confirmed roadmap. Now, category 2, in development / strongly reported. This is where one project keeps showing up over and over. Stranger Things, Tokyo. This one has been heavily reported as an anime-style expansion set in 1980s Tokyo. The rumored premise is simple but powerful. Video game-loving twin brothers encounter the Upside Down on the outskirts of Tokyo, and it turns into a grand adventure. It's also been rumored to be around 6 hours total runtime. Now here's why Tokyo is the smartest possible expansion. Because it answers the biggest question the main show barely touched. If the Upside Down is a real force, why would it only ever matter in one small town in Indiana? A Tokyo story lets Netflix show that this phenomenon can spread. It can manifest in different cultures, different cities, different rules. And best of all, it does it without dragging the original cast back in and breaking the finale's emotional closure. So if Stranger Things is going global, Tokyo is the cleanest way to do it. Now category 3, debunked rumors and failed fan hope projects. This is where I'm going to save you months of waiting. First, the Kali / Lost Sister spin-off. People have been arguing about this since season 2, but it's been directly debunked. There was never a plan for a backdoor pilot. It's not secretly coming. Second, the 11 solo spin-off. This one keeps popping up because 11 is the face of the franchise. But the Duffers have been clear about the spin-off direction. They want new characters and new locations. A solo 11 show is the opposite of that. Third, the idea that Stranger Things is becoming an MCU-style interconnected web. They've rejected the insanely convoluted mythology direction. Instead, they keep describing standalone stories with connective tissue. Meaning, you won't need to watch everything to understand everything. But if you do watch everything, you'll see the bigger picture. Finally, the fun category. Fan theories and fan wishes. This is where the internet lives. Steve and Dustin Road Trip, Nancy Detective Journalist Show. A Hopper and Joyce prequel series. These are great ideas, but based on what the Duffers have said, anything that relies on the main cast returning as the core of a spin-off is unlikely. If we get versions of these, it'll probably be in animation, limited specials, or one-off stories. Not a long-running live-action series. Because the whole strategy appears to be this. Keep the original show sacred, let it end, let it matter, but keep the universe alive with fresh entry points. So here's the simplest way to understand the future of Stranger Things. Tales from '85 gives you the comfort food. The original kids, Hawkins, new mysteries. The First Shadow gives you the canon lore, Henry's origin, the deeper rules. The pieces the show didn't fully say out loud. And the live-action spin-off gives you the next era. A new town, a new cast, a new nightmare. Same DNA, different story. Therefore, the question isn't, will we get season 6? The question is, which part of this universe do you want next? Because on this channel, we're not done. Next, I'm breaking down what Tales from '85 can reveal that live action never could. Then, I'm doing the cleanest First Shadow lore guide on YouTube, so you don't need a theater ticket to understand the canon. And finally, we're tracking every clue about the live-action spin-off until Netflix confirms the new location and the new decade. If you're still watching, comment New Town if you want the spin-off set outside the US, or comment Back to Hawkins if you only care about 85.
I just want this to be over.
She had to. Because if anyone else killed Vecna, the story would have ended like a boss fight. But the Duffers didn't want a boss fight. They wanted a full circle ending, a family ending, and a Dungeons and Dragons ending. So in episode 8, while everyone is focused on the big battle, the bigger message is hiding in two places: Joyce's axe and a basement door. Let's start with the part that shocked people. Vecna is dying. He's finally weak enough that someone can finish it. And out of everyone in Hawkins, it's Joyce who steps in. Not Eleven, not Hopper, not Will, Joyce. That choice looks random at first, but it's actually the most Stranger Things choice possible, because Joyce is the first person in this entire story who looked at the impossible and said, "I'm not backing down." Season 1 starts with everyone calling her crazy. They tell her Will is gone.
Not my Will. He's not like that. He wouldn't do. He's not like most. But you know, kids, they're mean. They make fun of him. They call him names. They laugh at him, his clothes. Look, he's a sensitive kid. He's missing.
They tell her to accept it, but Joyce refuses. She does the one thing no one else could do back then. She believes. And she takes action. That's why the Duffers say it had to be Joyce. Not because she's the strongest, but because she's the most relentless. Her love is basically a superpower. And in D&D terms, Joyce is the party member who never fails the will save. She doesn't get charmed. She doesn't get scared off. She doesn't stop rolling until the mission is done. And that's why she's the one who can walk up to Vecna and end it. But there's another layer here. It's not just Joyce, it's the axe. Because Stranger Things has been showing you that axe for years. In season 1, Joyce grabs an axe because she's ready to fight monsters, even when she doesn't fully understand what they are. The weapon is always there, but she never gets the payoff, until now. So when Joyce finally uses that same axe to finish Vecna, it isn't just violence, it's closure. It's the show telling you, the story that started with a mother trying to save her son ends with that same mother ending the thing that tried to take him. That's why it hits. It's not who has the best powers. It's who earned the right to end this. But here's what makes it even more important. Joyce killing Vecna is the emotional ending. The basement door is the thematic ending. Because the show doesn't finish with a kiss. It doesn't finish with a funeral. It finishes with a D&D campaign ending in the Wheelers' basement. The party stands up. They walk up the stairs, and Mike shuts the door. That shot is not just nostalgia. It's the Duffers making a point. That basement is childhood. That basement is safety. That basement is the place where the world was simple enough to solve with dice, a map, and friends. But now, they've fought the real thing. They've watched people die. They've grown up. Therefore, the door closes. And the Duffers basically tell you what it means, leaving childhood behind. Not in a happy way, in a grieving way. Because growing up is loss. You don't just level up. You give things up, and you can see it on Mike's face in that moment. He's not celebrating, he's mourning, but he still shuts the door. Because the story is over. And then something happens that feels small, but it's actually massive. Holly and her friends run past them. They're about to start their own D&D game. That's the torch being passed. That's the next party. That's the show saying, the world keeps going, but this campaign is done. That's why the final image is a closed door. In D&D terms, it's the DM putting the screen down. The session is finished. The characters are still alive somewhere in your imagination. But the story you played together is complete. Now let's talk about the two end song choices, because they are not random either. They're doing the exact same thing as Joyce and the basement door. One song is about the escape. The other song is about the goodbye. First, Prince. The finale uses 2 Prince tracks in a very deliberate order. The show builds a plan around a record. The record becomes the trigger for the bomb, and when the moment hits, the energy is fast, urgent, almost triumphant. That's why When Doves Cry plays during the escape. It's movement, it's adrenaline, it's the party running across the bridge while the world collapses behind them. But then the mood shifts. The show doesn't let you stay in that high, because the cost shows up immediately. The needle drop changes to purple rain, and suddenly it isn't about winning. It's about what winning takes from you. That's when we see 11 appear at the gate, and it looks like she might still be in the Upside Down while it's falling apart. So Prince becomes emotional punctuation. One track says, "Run." The next track says, "This is what it cost." Therefore, the finale uses Prince like a spell component. It's not just music. It's part of the ritual that closes the bridge. Now compare that to the other song, David Bowie's Heroes. That one doesn't play during the chaos. It plays after the final scene. After the door closes. After the campaign ends. It's the epilogue. And the wild part? That choice came from Joe Keery. He suggested using Bowie's original version of Heroes, instead of relying on the Peter Gabriel cover the show had used before. And the Duffers immediately agreed because they saw it as an anthem for the series. That tells you something. Prince is used for the plot mechanics. Bowie is used for the identity of the show. Prince is the action. Bowie is the soul. And even the visuals under Bowie matter. The finale rolls into an animated end credits sequence that looks like a nostalgic player's manual. So the show ends exactly how it began. Not just with D and D in a basement, but with the idea that this whole thing was a campaign, a party, a shared story. And yes, Joyce killing Vecna fits that too. Because in D&D, the final blow isn't always dealt by the main character. Sometimes it's dealt by the one who never quit, the one who stayed consistent for the whole campaign, the one who fought for the party even when nobody believed them. That's Joyce. But here's the question people aren't asking yet. If the show ends with a closed door, why does it still feel like something is unfinished? Why does 11's ending stay unclear? Why does the music shift from escape to sorrow to heroes? Because the finale is telling you they won the war, but the cost didn't vanish with Vecna's head. And if you've been watching my breakdowns on how the Upside Down works, you already know why that matters. Because if the Upside Down is a bridge, not a world, then closing the gate is never just a victory. It's a separation. It's someone being left on the other side. And that is exactly where this ends. A door shuts. A song plays all the way through, and you're left with one final feeling. This wasn't a happy ending. It was a completed campaign. And if you know D&D, you know the scariest words aren't game over. They're roll initiative, when the party is already exhausted. Everyone thinks the finale killed 11. Because the crew escapes, the military grabs them, and 11 makes the choice no one wants her to make. She stays behind, and when the explosion hits, she's just gone. But here's the problem. In a show that loves closure, they never give you the one thing a real death needs: a body. Instead, the finale gives you something else, a story, a Dungeons and Dragons story. And inside that story is the exact loophole that explains why 11 is missing, and how Kaylee's trick makes the ending work. Let's start with what actually happens. The final battle ends, the kids are saved, and the Upside Down is about to be destroyed. But as everyone races back, the government is waiting on the other side. The exit isn't freedom anymore. It's a trap. That's when 11 pulls Mike into her mind for a goodbye. She tells him the truth. None of this will ever end, not if I'm still here. She's not talking about Vecna anymore. Vecna can die. The Mind Flayer can die. But the machine that created 11, that machine will never stop hunting her. And the moment the military realizes 11 is alive, it starts again. More labs, more tests, more kids. Therefore, 11 makes the most brutal choice possible. She removes herself from the world, She stays in the Upside Down while it explodes, so nobody can use her again. That's the surface level ending. But the finale immediately punches a hole in it. We jump forward 18 months. Everyone is alive, everyone is changed. And Mike is still broken because he can't move on if Eleven's gone. So what does the show do? It puts the whole group back where it started, in a basement, around a table, playing D&D. And this is where the writers do something very sneaky. Mike becomes the dungeon master, and instead of rolling dice, he tells them what he chooses to believe. He says 11 and 8 had a plan. He says 8 cast a spell from far away, a spell of invisibility. And he says the person they saw die was an illusion. Read that again. The finale doesn't say 11 survived. It says, here is the exact method she could survive. And it hands it to you in D&D language on purpose. Because in D&D, this is a classic endgame move. When the party is about to lose the campaign, you don't beat the enemy with raw power. You beat them with a rule, a loophole, a spell interaction, a misdirection. Kelly has never been about brute force. She's not the fireball wizard. She's the illusion specialist. She doesn't smash the door. She makes the guard look the other way. Therefore, if 11 needed one final move that even the military couldn't predict, it would be Kaylee's move, not 11's. And this is why 11 is missing is the key phrase, not 11 is dead. Because the story doesn't end with a grave, it ends with a possibility. The camera cuts to 11, walking up a mountain overlooking 3 waterfalls, living in a small village where nobody knows she's alive. That scene is not random. That is the show saying, Mike's story might be true. But the Duffers don't confirm it. They leave it floating. Because the emotional point isn't the answer. The emotional point is the choice. Mike says, I choose to believe. And the party agrees. They choose to believe too. Now here's where this gets darker. Because Kaylee's illusion trick isn't only about hiding 11 from the military. It's also about something the finale confirms about Henry. For years, we argued over one question. Was Henry the puppet master, or was Henry the puppet? The finale gives you the twist. It shows Henry as a boy making contact with something older. Something that doesn't need Hawkins. Something that doesn't need Vecna. The Mind Flayer. And it reveals Henry didn't just become evil. He gets infected, linked, changed. He becomes a vessel. And that changes the entire meaning of the war. Because if the Mind Flayer can possess a human, twist them slowly, and use them like a tool, then Henry wasn't the final boss. He was the weapon. But here's the real twist. Even if Henry was possessed, he still made choices. And that's what makes him terrifying. Because it means you can't tell where the Mind Flayer ends and Henry begins. You can't tell what's real. And when your enemy's whole advantage is making reality uncertain, the only counter is illusion. That's why Kaylee matters in the final episode. Not as nostalgia, as logic. If the Mind Flayer's power is control, contamination, and deception, then the only way 11 survives is by becoming untouchable, untrackable, a ghost. Therefore, the illusion death isn't a cheap fake-out. It's the only move that matches the new rules. And those new rules get confirmed again in the biggest lore reveal of the finale. Because the show finally stops calling the Upside Down a world. It frames it like what many of us have been saying the whole time. A bridge, a wormhole, a corridor, not the final destination. The Upside Down is the space between Hawkins and something worse. The abyss. And the finale explains it like a campaign map. There's a connection point, a stabilizer, a power source, a single thing holding the wormhole open. Exotic matter, that swirling keystone keeping the corridor stable. So the plan isn't win the fight. The plan is collapse the bridge. That's why Hopper and Murray rigged the bomb to the record player. That's why the timer matters. That's why the music is literally the trigger. Because once the bridge collapses, the war ends forever. No gate, no hallway, no path back. Now connect the dots. If the Upside Down is a bridge and the bridge is about to be destroyed, then 11 staying behind isn't just sacrifice. It's camouflage. It's the perfect moment to disappear. Because everyone is watching the bridge collapse. Everyone is watching the explosion. Everyone thinks nothing can survive that. Therefore, if Kaylee creates an illusion at the exit, the military watches 11 die, and then the bridge collapses. There is no trail left to follow. No portal, no gate, no way to confirm. Which means 11 doesn't need to beat the military. She just needs to break their certainty. And Kaylee is the only character built for that. This is also why the finale ends the way it does. It doesn't give you a clean answer. It gives you a clean emotion. They defeat the monsters. They save the kids. They destroy the bridge, but they lose the magic. Because 11 is the magic of childhood in this story. And for the party to grow up, the magic has to go away. So the show hands you a choice. You can believe 11 died and the ending becomes a tragedy. Or you can believe Mike's D and D story and the ending becomes hope. But either way, the cost is the same. 11 can't come home. Not if the world is ever going to be safe. And if you've been watching my earlier breakdowns about the Upside Down not being a second world, but a structure with rules, this is the final payoff. The finale ends with a rules-based solution, not a miracle, a trick, a loophole, a spell. So here's the question that matters now. If 11 is alive, who is she living as? Because if Kaylee can fake a death once, she can fake an identity too. And that means the very last monster in Stranger Things isn't Vecna. It's the government, still searching, still lying, still building the next lab. And 11 staying missing might be the only way the party actually wins.